It's cool. Equally have the like...
Very different titles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Different titles.
Well, the Integral Yoga Center is currently hosting a neuroscience, yoga and mindfulness workshop, and speaker and author Dr. Cunningham joins us now to tell us all about it. So welcome to the show.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Perhaps tell us a little bit about your expertise in this area.
Well, I've been practicing yoga for many years, and I teach at the University of Virginia, and also just became very interested. We always knew that yoga worked, and mindfulness and meditation worked in terms of relaxing us and lowering blood pressure and things like that, but we never knew why until the advent of new technology a few years back, and we were able to see into the brain, and brain imaging became just much more clear. So we began to really see what part of the brain was lighting up under different meditative conditions and under mindfulness conditions. So it's really quite fascinating that we now realize and understand that there is a neuroplasticity to the brain. In other words, we can create and develop new neural pathways in the brain and develop more compassion, more empathy, more relaxation, less stress. We can learn to really manage that and navigate those kinds of things much better in terms of emotional regulation.
So in very simple terms, it's almost controlling or changing how your brain works.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's really having the power to impact on who we are and manage our emotions better, just regulate our thoughts better. And we now know that, like I said, mindfulness and meditation and yoga have a tremendous impact on helping us have a larger, bigger sense of well-being about who we are.
Now, how are you squashing all that information and all that research into a workshop?
I know. Imagine.
How are you managing to do that? What are the main issues that you're covering?
Right. Well, we're covering pro-social behavior and neuroscience and how the whole concept of Sangha. Sangha is a Sanskrit word which means sort of a gathering of like-minded people. Okay, so we're kind of looking at what does the research say around pro-social behavior, compassion and empathy, and connectedness and engagement with other people. So we're kind of taking a look at that and looking at what the neuroscience says and what the yoga texts talk about. So that's just one little aspect of what we're covering. We're also covering taking a look at anxiety and depression and how yoga can impact on anxiety, depression, at different emotional states, and basically what's happening in the brain under these conditions of meditation, yoga, chanting, just basically the practices of yoga and how they impact on depression and anxiety and any kind of emotional dysregulation. So those are some of the topics that we're covering. We're also going to take a look at kind of a new field called Neuro Theology. So what's happening in the brain under different meditative states or higher states of consciousness? What parts of the brain are lighting up, and can we begin to duplicate that? So it's a new science. The whole field of neuroscience related to mindfulness and meditation is in its infancy. But it's so promising in terms of peak performance, in terms of emotional regulation, in terms of people just being happier in general and increasing their well-being. So it's a very exciting time in this field and merging and looking at exactly what's happening and using yoga as a tool for well-being. So it's exciting. It's a very exciting time.
That's really interesting. Now, what kind of response have you had from the people participating in the workshop so far?
Well, we have had a wonderful time, I have to tell you. It's been such a joy to be here in Gibraltar. We have over 30 participants, and I think they have enjoyed it very, very much. And we're just learning together, you know, just being in a great environment where we're taking a look at the yoga practices, taking a look at the neuroscience, taking a look at, like I said, what meditation and mindfulness and the impact on our hormones, on our physiology, on our neurobiology. So when we can pause and I'm leading the class through a specific technique or specific breathing technique, they really have an opportunity to look at what hormones are activating. The happy hormones, which are the happy hormones are activating. There's 4 basic happy hormones. There's many, and I use an acronym called DOSE. So it's dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphin. You got it. Endorphin. Good job.
Oh, Kellyanne. Endorphin.
She got it. Cool. You must be a runner, right? Because runners
you hear that, and like exercising in general kind of produces endorphins.
Yeah, I'm a runner. Yeah.
I'm not a runner.
That's what I am. I'm a runner. I have to say I'm a runner.
So do either of you practice yoga? Have you ever
I've tried meditating before, and I've tried forms of it, but I find it so difficult, which I think you find is the biggest feedback that you probably get from people trying to start. I just find it very difficult to find that center point.
And that's very common. It's very, very common. There's a book written by a U.S. Anchor person, and I'm forgetting his last name. His first name is Dan, and it's called 10% Happier. And it's just a fascinating book it's a little bit autobiographical, and he talks about his process of learning mindfulness and meditation and feeling like he could not focus at all. I mean, it was very difficult for him. And so he just kept with it, and he began to realize that even just 2 minutes of oxygenation of the body and calming down the stress response had a huge impact. And the reason that he got into meditation and mindfulness is he had a panic attack on the air. Wow. On the air. And he shows a clip of it, in live interviews, or just any interviews. He'll show a clip of him going through that panic attack on live television. And he just knew he had to change his life because he was under so much stress. So it's kind of interesting, and he discovered the formula that it only takes 2 minutes of just bringing the mind back continually over and over again to one point, and that was making a huge difference in terms of the happy hormones that were being released in the brain.
Well, super interesting, and we've got more to chat about, but just bear with us for a moment.
Sure.
Yes, because Ben Lynch is back with his jukebox. Let's see what music he's featuring this week.
Hi, welcome to the Jukebox, and we're starting with the top 5 singles of the week. Rudimental are down 1 to number 5 with These Days. George Ezra and Paradise up 1 at number 4. Lil Dicky's Freaky Friday is down to number 3. Drake has dropped off the top spot. Nice for What is at number 2. And Calvin Harris and Dua Lipa have jumped 2 spots to number 1 with One Kiss. New releases this week, and Blossoms have shared I Can't Stand It, the first track from their upcoming second album, Cool Like You, out on Friday. Dublin trio Fan Club are releasing their explosive new single called All Fall Down. You also need to check out Hardy Caprio's Rapper. It's also out this Friday, but it's already had over 5 million views on YouTube. Finally, watch out for Tory Lanez and B.I.D., where he brags about his brand new lifestyle because, well, rap. The album charts, and Cardi B's Invasion of Privacy has made it into the top 5. Kylie Minogue's Golden has dropped from number 1 to number 4. George Ezra remains at number 3 with Staying at Tamara's. The soundtrack to the motion picture The Greatest Showman is back in the number 1 spot. But what I really want to tell you about is the new Manic Street Preachers album called Resistance is Futile. It's their 13th studio album. It comes 4 years after their last release, Futurology, and 20 years after the epic This Is My Truth, Tell Me Yours. Nobody can quite work it out. It's been described as a call to arms or an acceptance of defeat. Similarly, Nicky Wire has hinted that Resistance is Futile is either a new era or the end. New albums out this week include Anne-Marie's debut album, Speak Your Mind. She's set to support Ed Sheeran on his enormous European tour. It's going to be a big year for the pop talent. Janelle Monáe is releasing Dirty Computer with an accompanying 44-minute short film, Dirty Computer, an emotion picture. And finally, X Factor winner and friend of Gibraltar, Matt Cardle, is back with his original label, Sony Music. He's reinvented his sound for his 4th studio album, Time to Be Alive, and it fuses electronica, gospel, rock, and soul. That's all the latest in music news for this week. For updates, make sure you listen to Radio Gibraltar's chart show on Sundays between 4 and 7, and the album show from 7 on Mondays.
Nice ones there, some interesting new releases.
Good to see Matt Cardle's back as well.
Yep.
Yes, so on the workshop, tell us about if people are watching this and wanting to get involved. Can they still get involved?
I think they still can. We started on Monday, and it's been full days, and then we'll end on Friday at noon. So I think people can still come in. They should probably call the Integral Yoga Center and just make sure, but I think they can still come in for a section of the workshop. So all day tomorrow, and then till noon on Friday.
And it doesn't matter whether you're experienced
it
with
doesn't matter
yoga
at
or
all.
mindfulness
No.
or just interested.
Yeah, just interested. So,
Lovely. Well,
yeah.
thank you. It's been really interesting finding
Really
out about this.
Oh, it's my
Thank you very
pleasure.
much.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank
Enjoy
you
the
very
rest of
much.
your time in Gibraltar as well.
Thank you.
Well, Creative Project Kitchen hosted a pop-up exhibition last weekend. The idea was to explore the way we exhibit art, so no paintings or framed works were allowed.